This month, my agency has done $85,167 at 98% profit margins. Transparently speaking here, $55,000 of that is cash and the other $30,000 is revenue that is coming in at the end of this month and the beginning of next month. Here's one payment processor, $46,000 on there, and the other $9,000 was paid on sale. And there's still 7 days left inside of this month for us to make more money. Now, the only reason that I've been able to achieve this at 18 years old, and this reason is the most important thing that I could teach any entrepreneur that wants to be in a similar position to me, making as much and way more money than me as humanly fast as possible. What I'm going to teach you today is not going to be any specific business tactic to make you more money, because before you change anything inside of your business, you must change what lies inside of yourself first. If I were to tell you the only reason that you are in the position that you're in right now, making the amount of money that you're making right now, is because of the identity that you have adapted and you believe is to be true, I 100% bet without a single doubt that you would have some type of argument against me saying, no, it's because I'm not getting the clients that I need. No, it's because my content isn't performing as well as it should. No, it's because a long list of reasons of things that you can improve inside of your business. However, today, I'm going to break your beliefs, help you understand why that thinking is flawed, why it's the reason you're in the position that you're in right now. And biggest of all, I'm going to share the exact formula that I use to go from $10,000 a month to $100,000 by the end of this month in 2 single months. Right now, you watching this video have adapted an identity of yourself that you believe is to be true. And usually the identity that you've adapted is the current version of your physical self in reality, which that is a reason that you are stuck. Let's say you're making $10,000 to $30,000 a month right now with your business. You then adapt the identity of a person who makes $10,000 to $30,000 a month because that's who you are, right? So you start acting like that person. You think like that person. Every single decision you make is based off of the identity that you make $10,000 to $30,000 a month. Because again, that is the identity that you believe is to be true. Let me break your brain real quick and tell you my story. For 5 months, I was making $5,000 to $10,000 and I could not scale past it whatsoever. Even after working 12 hours a day, fixing everything inside of my business, I just could not get past it. So in this moment, I took a step back and I realized that every decision I was making up until this point was based off of the identity that I was making $10,000 a month. So in the back of my mind, I had some sort of hesitation when it came to booking an Airbnb, for example. I didn't want to DoorDash food if I didn't have to. I would check the gas tank balance whenever I would get gas because I was kind of nervous about the price. I was living in a state where money was scarce, and so I had to do everything I could to preserve it, or else I would run out. But this is where the change comes in. I realized that that was my problem. So to combat that, I made a decision right there and then that I made $30,000 a month, even though I actually didn't in reality. When people ask me, yo, Jonas, how much do you make per month? I would tell them $30,000 a month, even though I didn't. From there on out, from that moment that I made that decision, I started thinking like that person, that version of me that made $30,000 a month. Every single decision I made was based off of that new $30,000 a month identity of myself. So that Airbnb that I was talking about before, I ended up booking it for $2,000. I went to Austin, Texas, and throughout that 2 weeks, I DoorDashed every single meal, which was $50 every single day. The $10,000 a month version of myself would not have done this, and reasonably so. It wasn't smart. Like I didn't have the money for that. But that month, my business caught up to my identity because of the actions I was taking based off of that new identity. Let me repeat that because this is so important. Pay attention right here. Instead of changing something inside of my business to make more money, I changed my identity first, and my business changed in order to catch up with that identity. If you right now watching this video are trying to make changes or improvements inside of your business without first shifting your identity to who you want to become, you are going to fuck over your business and make the wrong decisions. This plays into the rule actually of where trying to 2x your business is actually way harder than trying to 10x your business. What got you here will not get you there. If you are trying to 2x your business, you are just going to become a slave to the work, trying to brute force your way to success. However, if you take a step back, it might feel a little weird. You might get a little disgusted inside, but if you think to yourself right now, and I want you to think about this right now, how can I make 10 times the amount of money that I make right now? How can I 10x my business? You 1000% would take much different action to 10x your business compared to trying to 2x your business because there are so many different moving factors. Instead of doing more work to make more money, you start to think about hiring teams. What is the 20% of work that I can do to get 80% of the results for the business? And that other 80% that gets 20% of the results, who can I outsource that to? Who can I hire for that? How can I train them? But this only happens when you decide to think bigger, when you decide to adapt the identity of someone that you are not currently in the real physical world. And so that's what I did 2 months ago. After being stuck at $5,000 to $10,000 a month for 5 months straight, I finally had that breakthrough the moment I decided to shift my identity to that $30,000 a month version of myself. That month, I did not make $30,000. I made $40,000 personal profit. Now, at this time, to get to that $40,000 a month mark, I was still doing all the work inside of the business. I was just charging more for things that took me less time. And it worked really fucking good to make me that money. But then the next month, which was the beginning of this month, I realized that I couldn't get caught up in my old habits of adapting the identity of the current version of myself. So I did something really, really fucking uncomfortable. I wrote down on a piece of paper that my agency makes $100,000 a month, which that by all means was not the uncomfortable thing. What made this uncomfortable was that I genuinely fucking believed this with all my heart. I announced it on my Instagram to all of my followers that my agency will make $100,000 this month. And I had no doubt whatsoever because I had already adapted the identity of a person who makes $100,000 a month with their agency. The next morning, I woke up and I had a sense of responsibility that I had never felt in my entire life. I had so much fucking energy and I had never been more motivated to make a lot of fucking money. And guess what? Simply because I shifted my identity, everything inside of my business changed. And not because I changed my business, it's because my business changed to catch up with my identity. I started hiring teams for everything. I stopped working inside of the business. I started seeing business way differently than I did before. And I actually started working less hours than I was when I was making $40,000 a month. In the beginning of this identity shift, things felt really, really weird. It made me feel genuinely sick to my stomach, like that feeling that you get when you're going on a first date with a pretty girl. You probably know what I'm talking about. You get that nervous feeling inside of your gut, and there is actually a reason for this. When you try and shift your identity, your nervous system is going to try to stop you and keep you stuck in your current identity because that's where it feels most safe. As soon as you try and adapt a new identity that is bigger than your current state of self, your nervous system gets into a fight or flight mode. And this is a battle that you must fucking win, or else you're going to fall back into your old identity. I'm going to get a little bit nerdy right here, but this is for your benefit. I'm going to break down scientifically how identity shifting works so that you can take this as an actual practice and implement it into your own life successfully. First of all, I'm going to explain why the nervous system matters inside of this equation. Our nervous system is like the operating system behind our thoughts, behaviors, and even our sense of identity. When you're stressed, overwhelmed, or in survival instinct mode, your body is in what's called sympathetic dominance, which is your fight or flight state. And in that state, your brain is not focused whatsoever on making more money or becoming successful with business. It's simply focused on just survival. On the flip side, when your body feels safe, when your nervous system is regulated, you are actually more creative and more confident. And this is where identity shifts are possible. This is also a state of mind where you may have realized by now inside of your business that things just come way easier and they start falling into place when you're more calm. Because in this state, you're not fighting for anything. Like I said, you're calm. So you're not pedestalizing anything. And because of that, you start getting more sales, better clients, more results for your clients. When you are fighting and in a survival mode where you're trying to fight for a client to work with you, it repels them. But when your nervous system is in a regulated state, and you've probably noticed this, when you're calm on a sales call, for example, the client closes way easier because it can tell that you are calm and not needy. So you start attracting. So the reason I bring that up is because if you are trying to shift your identity into someone that makes more money, but your nervous system is stuck in that survival mode, your brain will reject that new identity as unsafe or unbelievable, and this is where you lose. Now, I'm going to explain the science behind shifting your identity. Identity shifting is basically training your brain through neuroplasticity, which is the ability to form new neural pathways. Every time you imagine and embody a more successful version of yourself, you are laying down those neural pathways. But the thing is, your nervous system itself has to believe that that new version of yourself is safe to be. Otherwise, your body will put itself into old habits and self-sabotage. So I know there's a lot of big words right here, but the real key is to mix mindset work with nervous system regulation, because that's when your new identity feels natural and not forced. And I'm going to explain what this means and how to use it, do not worry. So how do you overcome nervous system blocks? Because your nervous system is trying to block you from becoming this new version of yourself. So how do you avoid that? How do you overcome that? I'm about to use the process that I've used to regulate my nervous system myself so that I can get into this new identity without my nervous system shutting down and blocking me from becoming this person. Step one is regulating first. Before you step into your new, more successful identity, you need to calm your nervous system first. This brings me back to what I was talking about earlier, you going on that first date with that pretty girl. You're nervous, right? You are doubting yourself. You're second guessing yourself. Should I go? Can I even do this? Am I confident enough? Instead of walking in with those thoughts, what you should do is you should take a deep breath and calm your nervous system down so that when you do go talk to her and you see her, You're not shaking, you're not sweating, you're calm and confident. When you breathe deeply and when you can calm yourself down, this signals safety to your brain. So back into the identity shifting frame, once you're calm, you can now imagine yourself as that person who is more successful in making the amount of money that you want to make with your business. In this moment though, you can't just see it. You have to genuinely feel it. How does this version of yourself feel being that successful? Even go as deep as to how does this person breathe? How do they stand? How do they walk? How do they speak? And start embodying all of those traits in that moment. Once you do this, you have to repeat small behaviors that align with that identity every second of every single day. Whether it's how you handle money, how you talk to clients, how you walk down the street, or even how you dress for the day. Your nervous system learns through repetition. So over time, with this repetition, your body begins to accept this new, more successful version of yourself that makes more money as normal. And this is when identity shifts really start to lock in. So long story short, identity shifting is not just some mindset trick. It's a genuine nervous system battle that you have to win. And so this is the exact timeline that I went through both times that I was shifting my identity. I calmed myself down, started seeing and feeling the new version of myself, which both times I had that nervous gut feeling, which was telling me to turn back and stop and find safety. Which, let me give you a quick correlation right now. Your nervous system is like a good pair of parents. I don't know if you've been through this, but for me, when I was supposed to be going into my senior year of high school, I had told my parents that I didn't want to go to school because I wanted to focus 100% on my business. And I told them that I didn't want to go to college. Being the good parents that my parents are, I love my parents, they fought against me. They wanted me to go to school, get good grades, go to college, because that's what they saw as safe. That's what they saw as best for me, which this is the same as your nervous system. However, I had bigger plans. I knew with 100% confidence that if I didn't go to my senior year, or if I even did like some online school, that I would be successful and self-sufficient by the time college would be starting for me. And that's what I fucking did. I won the war with my parents, just how you have to win the war with your nervous system, which is trying to keep you stationary and safe. I pretty much dropped out of my senior year in high school. I found decent success with my business, but I would have never been in this position that I'm in right now at 18 years old if I would have let that safe side win. So biggest thing is stay calm during this war and win, and you will have successfully adapted a new identity and you are ready to fucking print. Because I made the decision to win this war when it came to shifting my identity, my agency will now make $100,000 by the end of this month and much more after that. This is the reason right now I am talking to you on this camera, on this video, to adapt a new identity, because I believe this is the most important thing you can do to make more money inside of your business. This is not just something that's worked for me. I've taught my students this, I've taught my clients this, and it's worked for them as well. Every successful entrepreneur that you know has become skilled in identity shifting. You've probably seen that person inside of your niche that just moves way fucking faster than everyone else. While you're stuck at $10,000 to $30,000 for 5 months straight, they go from $0 to $100,000 a month in that same 5 months, simply because they understand this concept and they've mastered it. Now, the last thing that I want to cover, which is the make or break for this whole entire process, is your subconscious. I'll tell you a funny story. When I was in Austin during my first ever identity shift, and even till today, I still experience this. I don't think I'll ever stop experiencing this. But I had a friend there that was stuck in the $10,000 a month identity, that identity that I was just leaving at that time. And so he acted like that $10,000 a month identity. There was a time where we were getting water and it was $2 instead of $1. And he was like, bro, this is tax. And I could feel the hesitation of him buying that water because it was $1 extra. And later that day, we had got dinner as well together at a Japanese barbecue, and there were 3 options: third tier, second tier, first tier. This one was more expensive than the other ones. And he decided to go with a lower tier because the other tiers were more expensive, even though there were other things on this tier that he would have wanted to eat. It's actually funny because if you've ever heard the term of switching up on your day ones after you make it, this is actually why that happens. When you start to make a lot of money, or when you adapt that identity of someone who does, you'll still have those people inside of your life that are stuck inside of your old way of thinking. And these people, unintentionally, we love them, but they will harm your subconscious. I knew that my friend saying, yo, this is taxed for the water and for the higher tier option at the Japanese barbecue, could have harmed my subconscious in the way where, in the back of my mind, I could have started doubting that new $30,000 a month identity of myself and started to think, well, is this taxed? Like, is he right? And that would have brought me back into my old way of thinking. However, I was able to protect my subconscious from the taxed invaders because there was one thing that I had been practicing day in and day out: meditation. Your subconscious plays a humongous part inside of your identity. Our subconscious literally dictates our reality. If you cannot control your thoughts, you start to become them. Meditation is a practice where you focus on one single thing for a set amount of time. And whenever you lose your focus, you realize that you've lost your focus and you realize that you're thinking something different. So then you bring your attention back to what you were thinking about in the beginning, and that counts as one rep. The better you get at meditation and observing your thoughts, the easier it will be to protect your subconscious from harm. You'll be able to observe the outside thoughts of other people that do not align with your identity and stay strong with the belief of the identity that you want to hold. So thankfully, in these moments, I was able to stay strong. And funnily enough, I had a conversation with my friend that was labeling things as taxed, and the conversation was what's consistent inside of this video. And at the time, this guy was doing $5,000 to $10,000 a month with his agency. And the next month, which was just last month, he did $30,000 a month using the things that I had taught him about identity shifting. So that's my story on how I went from $10,000 a month to $100,000 by the end of this month in 2 months by simply shifting my identity. Yes, there is still a ton of inputs that I put in aside from just shifting my identity, but I would not be anywhere near where I am today if it were not for the practices that I taught you in this video. If you need to watch this video one more time or 2 more times or 3 more times for it to really sink in, feel free. I genuinely recommend you to, because this is so fucking important. I cannot stress it enough. This has changed my life and I know that it will change yours too. But with that said, if you want daily updates on my life and my business, there's a link below in the description where you can follow me on Instagram. I post there daily, and make sure that you like and subscribe if you like this video, because the content grind is far from over. I have so many bangers coming, but until then, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.